Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Tom.
Hi, I'm Stephanie.
It's our TOEIC unit for the month of March, and we're going to be talking about the importance of regular health checkups. If you work for a company, of course, you want the company to care about your health so that you can keep on working for many, many years and get those health benefits, and you won't be tempted to quit and work at another company. So, indeed, if you work at a company, the boss should recognize that getting regular health checkups are important or is important.
Part of that is part of your benefits package when you're hired on as a full-time employee. That's usually one of the things that people accepting a job really look at closely. What kind of benefits does my job include? It's not just your salary, it's your health insurance. Do you have dental coverage in addition to just seeing a medical doctor? Maybe some of the companies here offer Chinese medicine that's paid for. They should. We are in Taiwan, and it's very natural stuff. And, what kind of vacation package is involved as well? This is all part of the benefits that you are offered when you become a full-time employee. If you aren't a full-time employee, maybe you're a part-time employee or you're freelancing, you typically aren't offered any benefits. So let's go ahead and take a look at our conversation here. We've got three characters, Fatima, Calvin, and Andreas. And we're saying Calvin and Andreas are both guys, right, Tom?
Absolutely. They're both boys. And we've got a girl here as well, Fatima. So let's listen to their conversation. They're having a little bit of a meeting in the company. Let's find out what they talk about. Please listen carefully.
The next topic on our agenda is our company's healthcare plan. Does anyone have any ideas on how we can improve it?
Well, I think we should probably change our policy on employee health checkups. I agree with Calvin. Based on a recent survey, many workers aren't happy with the current system.
Why? All of our workers are entitled to free checkups as part of our health plan. Right?
Yes, but they don't receive these free checkups regularly enough. That's correct. As it stands, employees under the age of 40 have to wait 5 years between checkups.
That is a long time. What do you suggest we do?
I think we should start offering annual health checkups instead.
I don't know if the boss will accept that. We have over 50 workers, so that would be extremely expensive.
It will increase healthcare costs, but I believe it's definitely worth it. Employees are a business's most important asset. We need to show them that we truly care about their well-being. Yeah, frequent health checks are a good way to make sure our workers don't burn out physically or mentally. As a side benefit, it might also reduce absences due to illness or injury.
You've both raised some good points. I'll bring this suggestion up with the boss during our next conference call.
Okay, everybody, let's start to talk about the contents of their conversation. It certainly was a fascinating conversation, and they are discussing the importance of regular health checkups. A checkup, of course, is when you go see the doctor and have something checked out, whether it be your teeth or something in your body or whatever. A regular health checkup would check all sorts of things like your blood pressure and your blood sugar and various other things. So, yeah, it's probably important for people to get a regular health checkup from time to time.
If it's regular, it usually happens between regular intervals or spaces in time. So a regular checkup wouldn't be maybe this year and then 6 years later and then 2 years later and then, it would be pretty constant. So maybe every year, every 2 years. As you're younger, you probably don't need them as much, but as you get older, you definitely need them every year. We're going to talk about what this company's and how they might change it in the future. So we've got Fatima or Fatima. It's pronounced both ways. It depends on what country you live in. So the next topic or topic of discussion on our agenda is our company's healthcare plan. Because she says this line, you know they're in a current meeting. When you go to a business meeting, there's usually an agenda, so you don't waste time. It's very easy to waste time at work in a meeting where people just, talk to each other. It's nice to chat with your coworkers. But sometimes you have to get things done quickly, so you need an agenda. An agenda just has a list of things that you want to cover, that you want to discuss, that you want to bring up, and hopefully come to some decision on what you want to do on that particular item.
Yep, as you said, they're probably in the middle of a meeting, and now they've come to the topic of healthcare in the company, and specifically they want to talk about the company's healthcare plan, which of course is the plan that the company has to make sure its employees are nice and healthy for the job so they don't have to take days off and go see the doctor and reduce productivity and stuff like that. Now, Fatima says, does anyone have any ideas on how we can improve it? So we currently have a healthcare plan, but maybe it could be improved, it could be made better, so of course, she is asking the other participants in the meeting to offer their opinions on this topic.
Well, Calvin here, he says, I think we should probably change our policy on employee health checkups. We're going to hear what their current policy is and how he thinks they should improve it. So this is his idea, his suggestion that he brings up. And Andreas actually agrees with Calvin. It looks like they've done a recent survey, so they may be in human resources, they may have jobs in human resources, or maybe they're in marketing and human resources asked them to conduct a survey. We're not really sure about that, but they did take a survey of the employees there, and many workers just aren't happy with the current system. So if you find out your employees aren't happy, if you want to keep them employed there, you should probably work on changing whatever makes them unhappy, or maybe look at improving a policy that's currently in effect.
Right, so of course if they quit, if they're not happy, they'll quit, and then you have to train somebody else, and that takes time and reduces efficiency. So of course it's better to keep your employees employed in your company. Andreas has an opinion. He says, I agree with Calvin. I agree that we should probably change our policy on employee health checks. Based on a recent survey, many workers aren't happy with the current system. So they conducted a survey in the company and asked them, are you satisfied with our healthcare plan? And a lot of the people who responded said, no, we're not satisfied. We'd like to see it changed.
Right. So Fatima says, why all of our workers are entitled to free checkups. If you're entitled to something, it means you've earned something or you have the right qualifications and you deserve something. If you're entitled to something, it usually means you've done something to earn it. Or maybe you were born into a particular family, so you're entitled to maybe inherit what your parents leave once they pass away. Not always, though. If you're living in a country with democracy, you're entitled to cast a vote for your leaders. You're entitled to freedom from tyranny, people telling you how to live and what to do. Those are things you're entitled to. So it says here they're already entitled to free checkups as part of their health plan. And she just wants to double check that her understanding is correct. So she uses this right at the end. So they are already entitled to free checkups, right? What does she hear as an answer, Tom?
Well, Calvin says, yes, that is true, but they don't receive these free checkups regularly enough. So it is true that the employees receive a health checkup, but according to Calvin, they don't receive the checkup often enough or regularly enough. Maybe they have it once every 2 years or something like that. 5
years, yeah, 5 years.
Once every 5, as we're going to find out here, of course. But still, that's not recent enough, or that's not regular enough. It's not often enough.
Yeah.
So that's what Calvin says about the employees. and they don't receive these free checkups regularly enough. And Andrea says that's correct. That's true. As it stands, employees under the age of 40 have to wait 5 years between checkups. That's a long time to wait for another checkup. Lots of things could happen in those 5 years, and if you don't catch those things soon enough, you could be a goner.
Yeah, there are some diseases that if you catch them early, like cancer, there's no reason why you would have to actually get very sick and die. If you catch things early, you can fix them, you can treat them, and usually you can live a long life. So that's why we're always encouraged to have these regular checkups that are quite frequent or often, as Tom mentioned. It sounds like theirs just aren't often enough. That's the biggest problem. So Andrea says that's correct as it stands. As it stands is a phrase we use just to talk about the current situation, the current circumstances. Maybe you've decided you want to look around for a new job, but as it stands, you're going to stay with your current job until after the holidays, as it stands. So as it stands, or as it currently is, employees under the age of 40 have to wait 5 years between checkups. And a lot of cancers start, even in the 30s. So maybe they need to make those regular checkups more frequent.
Exactly. If they want to keep their employees nice and healthy and happy, and they want to keep them gainfully employed at that company, then indeed they should probably increase the frequency of those checkups. And Fatima says, well, that is a long time. She does agree. She stresses the word is. That is a long time. And what do you suggest we do? So how should we change this policy if the employees are not satisfied, if they think the health checkups are not regular enough?
Calvin thinks they should start offering annual health checkups instead. So if something's annual, it just occurs once every year. We usually have an annual Christmas party, an annual weigh-in. Those things happen once a year, every year. So I think that's a good idea.
Exactly. So, of course, annual means every year. If it's every week, it's weekly. And then monthly for every month. And in this particular case, every year is annual. So they should have annual health checkups instead of those 5-year checkups. Fatima says, I don't know if the boss will accept that. So indeed, the Fatima here probably is sort of the middle person here between the employees and the boss.
She's a middle manager.
Exactly. So she probably says, well, that's a nice suggestion, but I don't think the boss will like that idea. I don't think the boss will accept that. She goes on to say, we have over 50 workers. We have over 50 employees. So that would be extremely expensive. Yes, indeed, it does sound pretty expensive if you have to suddenly fork out the money to pay for 50 health checkups every year. I think the average boss would not be happy to hear that.
Well, it's not going to be cheap, let's be honest. Those health checkups can be quite expensive. I would offer a basic health checkup, and if employees want additional, more invasive procedures, then they can pay for those in addition to the basic health checkup that's offered. I know of some companies here that do that. I was actually offered that in one of my jobs. So, yeah, it will increase healthcare costs as Andreas, but he thinks it's definitely worth it. Something's worth it, it's really good or sufficiently good or important to really justify doing something. It deserves to be taken seriously. He thinks it's worth it. Employees are a business's most important asset. An asset is something that you have of value. Could be a person, right? Oh, Tom's such a great asset to our company. He is just so professional. Or maybe you have an asset like a good piece of equipment that you spend a lot of money on. That's an asset at a company as well. Well, people, of course, should be a business's most important asset. We need to show them that we truly care about their well-being. Your well-being includes your physical health, your emotional health, your spiritual health. All those things are important to a person's sense of well-being.
Indeed. So these are people who work for a very professional company, so they want to keep them on. They have advanced degrees, and they've been highly trained. So indeed, you want to keep them employed there. Maybe for some other companies where you're talking about workers in a factory or something, maybe you think, we can always train somebody in 5 minutes and they can do the job. Any idiot can do that job. But if you're talking about professional positions, then you want to try to hold on to them or hang on to them. And Andrea says, yes, frequent health checks are a good way to make sure our workers don't burn out physically or mentally. So here we've got the verb phrase to burn out, which means you basically get totally exhausted from your job. You run out of energy. Maybe you have a nervous breakdown or a physical breakdown or whatever the case may be. So indeed, we don't want to have our workers burning out both physically and mentally. And physically means having to do with your body, and mentally means having to do with your psychology, with your spirit.
Right. You could also use burnout to talk about a campfire that you built, or maybe you are barbecuing outside. Sometimes the fire will burn out or die out. But here, of course, we're talking about being so tired and exhausted. Sometimes it's just mental exhaustion, and you can just say, I feel really burned out, using the past tense, burned out. So we don't want the workers to burn out physically or mentally, or just feel like, what's the use? All I do is work. I'm tired. I need to take a break. And that's when a lot of the time when these companies lose employees, when they're just burned out. They've been doing too much. Well, as a side benefit or something that happens just because you did one right thing, something else follows, it might also reduce absences due to illness or injury. Yeah, maybe people won't get as many colds or the flu, or they'll be more careful at work because they're not quite as exhausted. So that's a side benefit or an extra benefit if they do offer these more regular health checkups.
Okay, so now it's time for Fatima to end the conversation. She says, well, you've both raised some good points. Thank you for your opinions. I'll bring this suggestion up with the boss during our next conference call. So this is a suggestion, an opinion somebody has about how to improve something. Hey, can I make a suggestion? I'd like to offer you some advice. So, of course, their suggestion is to improve the healthcare system there in the company to make sure the employees have more frequent health checks. That's their suggestion, and she's going to mention this suggestion or bring it up with the boss when they have their next conference call. So I guess that means the boss is someplace else. Maybe this is a branch company.
Notice here she's using this verb phrase, bring up. You bring up a suggestion, you bring up an idea, you bring up a topic. You can also separate it as you can most verb phrases. So here they've said, I'll bring this suggestion up with the boss. But you could also just say, I'll bring up this suggestion with the boss during our next conference call. Yeah, maybe they are working from home. You know, some offices have continued to have employees work at home a couple of days a week and then come in a couple of days a week. So we'll see what the boss has to say. We don't know yet, but we may find out in the next program. Right now, we're going to take a quick break and listen to our Chinese teacher.
Hello everyone, 我是派老师。今天讲解的是3月份 Unit 14 The Importance of Regular Health Checkups。这个单元是多益听力阅读练习。第一天课程是绘画，对话主题和员工健检有关。我们一起看看绘画当中人物特别讲了哪一些重要的单字、片语和句型。首先是 Fatima， 她是人资部的主管，她就先开头说 The next topic on our agenda is our company's healthcare plan。 她就说今天开会的议程 agenda， 下一个主题是 healthcare plan， 是他们要讨论的就是针对员工的健康，公司有哪一些福利。接下来呢，他的同事 Kelvin 就回应了，他们觉得最在意的就是员工呢应该要有更多的健检的机会。那他的同事就附和 Kevin， 他就说了Many workers unhappy with the current system. 目前有很多员工对现行制度不满意。Current system， 请画起来，现行制度。Fatima 人资主管就觉得很纳闷，说 每个人的健检都是免费的啊，是对哪个部分不满意？ All of our workers are entitled to. Be entitled to 就是有权利获得什么。再来 Calvin 的回答则是说 Yes, but they don't receive these free checkups regularly enough. 原来问题不是在于费用，而是在于员工觉得频率不够，他们希望呢更长的接受健检。而 Andreas 则说 That's correct. As it stands, employees under the age of 40 have to wait 5 years between checkups. 这句话的意思就是按照现行制度在40岁以下的员工 have to wait 5 years between checkups. 所谓的 between checkups 意思就是第一次跟第二次这当中要间隔多久？5年，所以要间隔5年才能做一次健检。再来 Kelvin 下面说到 I think we should start offering annual health checkups instead. 所以 Kelvin 就认为其实公司应该要让员工每年都可以做健检 annual health checkups. 再来请同学看到 Andreas 后面又说到 It will increase healthcare costs, but I believe it's definitely worth it. 他当然也要帮公司的荷包着想，所以这里说当然会增加成本，可是我想应该是值得的。而 Kelvin 呢则是说到说 Employees are business's most important asset. 同样是在附和他的同事所说的，员工就是企业最重要的资产。We need to show them that we truly care about their well-being. 好，请同学呢特别把 well-being 画起来。Well-being 是名词，意思所指的呢也是身心健康的状态。再来下面 Andreas 则回答 Yeah, frequent health checkups are a good way to make sure our workers don't burn out physically or mentally. 请同学特别把 burn out 画起来。Burn out 就是我们常常说的过劳。那当然过劳有时候未必是体力上无法负荷，有时候其实呢是真的是太疲惫了，心力上面也觉得很疲惫，所以搞不好灵感都没有了，没有任何的想法 burn out 过劳。接着 Calvin 说 As a side benefit, it might also reduce absences due to illness or injury. 健检还有哪些好处呢？ As a side benefit另外可能还有一些附带的好处，比方说 It might also reduce absences 让员工可以降低缺席，比较不会缺席。一般而言我们会缺席大概就是因为生病了受伤了才会缺席，那因为健检有助于让员工监测自己的健康状况就比较不会生病，就比较不容易缺席。再来请看到最后面 Fatima 所说的 You both raise some good points. 你们所提的都是非常好的建议。这句话请同学务必背下来，以后呢当你觉得对方所讲的很好的时候，就可以说 You've both raised some good points. You've raised good points.You've raised good points. 那因为这里有两个人，所以他才会说 You've both raised some good points. 最后他还承诺 I'll bring this suggestion up with the boss during our next conference call. 所以下一次在电话会议的时候 Fatima 会向老板提出来 I'll bring the suggestion up with the boss. I'll bring the suggestion up with the boss. 他会向老板建议提出这个建议，就是 bring this suggestion up。 以上就是我们针对多益课程第一天的讲解，谢谢大家。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Okay, everybody, welcome back. We're going to continue with our lesson and offer you some suggestions on how to express agreement. Okay, so if you're in a meeting and somebody makes a suggestion, if they have an idea or an opinion and you like that idea or opinion, you can express agreement. The most common way to do that is to say, yeah, you're right, I agree with you.
Okay, number 1 is you can say that again, which just means, wow, I really liked what you just said. Say it again. You don't have to. Sometimes we'll do it as a joke. Someone will repeat it if they hear someone respond with, you can say that again. It doesn't have to be something that's serious in a meeting either. It could be someone coming in from a long day at work and going, I had a terrible day at the office. You can say that again. Well, you can just agree with just about anything people say. So, it is so hot outside. You can say that again. So you can say that again if you agree with someone. And this person goes on to say it's about time we made a change.
Okay, and here's another suggestion. You can say, I concur, which is the same thing as saying, I agree. You can use this phrase, I concur, after somebody else has said, I agree. And if too many people are saying, I agree, I agree, I agree, it gets monotonous. So you can say, I concur. At least it's different.
Yeah, change the verb sometimes. This is more formal than agree, but it's not too formal to use in spoken conversation. So try to use it. It's a fun word. I concur. We should consider renting a larger office. So sometimes you can just agree and leave it at that. Or you can continue on with re-emphasizing what you agree with, which is what most of these example sentences do.
And here's a third sample. That's so true. Again, that's another way to express agreement. Gee, what you said is so true. That's so true. I couldn't agree with you more. And here's the example sentence. Flexible work schedules would make our lives much easier. Indeed, everybody likes to have flexible work schedules. Now let's move on now to our discussion question. And here's the question that we'll ask, and we'll give you a sample answer, and maybe you can have a discussion yourselves. The question is, do you think the government should make it mandatory for companies to pay for their employees' annual health checkups? Yeah, what do you think?
I've gotten tired of this word mandatory after the last 2 years of COVID. So I'm a person who's into freedom. If you want to work for a company that doesn't offer health checkups, that's your decision. If a company has over 100 employees, I believe they probably should offer mandatory checkups or pay for those health checkups for the people there. But if you're a small company, it's very hard to stay in business. I would like to encourage as many small business owners as possible. So many people lost their companies during COVID lockdown, which I disagreed with. But I just want people to have the freedom to come and go. If you want to start a new business, do it. But no, I'm against mandatory anything for small companies in particular.
Yeah, ideally, it should be up to the company itself to make this decision. So, yeah, the government probably should not make it required or mandatory for companies to pay for their employees' annual health checkups. But at least the companies should recognize that helping their employees get those checkups is a good thing.
It's a great thing.
And indeed, everybody should be healthy and happy, and they won't be quitting, and you won't have to keep putting advertisements on the internet for new employees. Position open right now. So yeah, keep your employees happy and you don't have to look for new people.
Good advice. And if you don't have something that you'd like employees to be offered at your company, get a group together and see if you can convince your boss to put it into effect. See if you have some influence. Right now, it's time to sign off. Thanks for joining us. We're not done with this particular topic. Day 2, we're going to talk about free health checkups for everyone. We're going to find out what this particular company decided to do. For English Digest, I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Tom. Goodbye.
Bye.